everyone, welcome back to Crafting with Kelcey. My name is Kelcey. I'm a rep programmer for the City of Flin Flon, and I'm super excited to be crafting with you guys today. So today what we're going to be making is some air dry clay pots. I made a couple different shapes. This one here is my favorite. I guess it's more of a little decorative dish than a pot, but I chose to decorate the bottom, and it's super cute. This one's been curing for 1 day, and it's starting to get a little bit more solid. Because we are using a clay called Model Magic, it's not going to cure rock hard, but it will get solid enough to safely keep its shape. Another one I made, and I gotta be careful with this one because it's not dry yet, is I made a little bit of a taller one using the same technique. Okay, a little bit deeper. This time my embellishments were on the side. And then this one's more of a pot as you would think of it. I made this one and decorated it with buttons all across the bottom. Okay. So stay tuned, I'll be showing you how to make these.
Alrighty, so there is a few different types of pots we could make. I guess first, we're gonna open up our clay. I suggest only opening the clay that you know you're going to use because this stuff does dry out pretty quickly. So I'm gonna start with 2 and kind of see how I feel about that. One thing I do suggest is to wash your hands and your workspace beforehand, especially if you don't plan on painting this afterwards. This is white, right? I love the look of white, but it does also pick up any dirt on your hands or on your desk. It'll get everywhere. My practice project definitely has some dust and maybe a little bit of dog hair in there. That's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm molding 2 packs together. I'm just starting with 2 packs. We might add more later. It also depends on the size of the pot you want to make. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a pinch pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of squish it into a circle, right? Not going totally flat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pushing down the middle and pinching up on the sides. You want to make sure that your bottom doesn't get too thin. You're going to keep pinching up. I think I'm going to add another thing of clay, just because I want it to be kind of wide, but I also want it to go taller than what I have right here. I did make a short one, like one that looks pretty much like this. If I didn't show you in the intro, I'll show you in the outro. But it looks really cute. I guess that would be more of like a bowl type thing than a pot per se. Yeah, so it just looked like that. I'm gonna grab another thing of clay. And unfortunately for the pinch pot, we do kind of have to have our blob ready to go to just pinch it up. I will show you after how you could just add on to this shape, but for this one, I'm just gonna add in my clay and start over. So one downside with using this Model Magic is that it does dry quite quickly. So at this point, I'm not going to be able to start over again because it's going to start setting up. And you don't want to lose the thickness of the walls either. You don't want any of it to be too thin. You'll have some issues when you're trying to cure it up. You can kind of also adjust how big you want the bottom. So right there, I decided I want to bring it forward a little bit and make the bottom bigger and the sides a little, bottom smaller and the sides a little bit higher. keeping focus. I kind of like the look of this rough edge, but it all depends on the type of project you're going for. And how thick it is will also determine how sturdy your pot is in the end. Okay. This is Model Magic, so it's always going to be a little bit flexible. It's not going to get rock hard. One thing you could do if you do want to have it cure into something a little bit more sturdy is if you were to put like a glaze on it. They do have particular Model Magic glaze. Okay. And you're just gonna kind of fiddle with it until you have a shape you're okay with. I went a little bit thin on the sides here, so I'm having some structure issues. Okay. And as you can, or maybe you can't see, I don't know. The longer I work with it, the more chances we have for cracks to get in there. If you do get cracks, you can take a little piece and cover them up. You could also try wetting your hands and kind of smoothing it over. Okay. And here's a little bit of a taller one. Okay. And it all depends. If you start with a little circle, you could build your walls up higher. If you're doing anything too tall, I suggest taking something like a paper towel roll, or maybe even like a can, something to support it while it's drying. Okay, so now that we got the basic shape, and before it dries too much, we are going to add some decorations. Okay. So for this one, I decided to use beads. My last one, I decorated the bottom. So for this one, I think I'm going to decorate the sides. Okay, and you do want to do this while your clay is still moldable. Okay. If you are planning on painting this, what you could do, and I mean it's all up to you, is you could let it dry, paint it, and then glue on any extra embellishments that you like. And very easy. I'm gonna take a black bead because black's like my favorite color. Match my nails. You're just gonna push them into the side. This is where having a thick wall is going to be beneficial. I don't know if you guys can see right there, but you can kind of see the back of the bead. Oh, and I'm having even more structure issues. And you can go around wherever you see fit, and we can just put some beads in there. If you are concerned about them falling out, you could put some dots of glue in there, even while it's wet. And key with this, the hardest part is trying not to touch it while it's drying. Okay? I know that's what I'm gonna have difficult with. So I've just made a simple pattern. And if your walls were thicker, you could do the top. Even if you wanted, you could take another pack of clay and kind of roll it into a ball. Not a ball, into a snake. And put it around the edge. This will give it a nice thick edge to, maybe if you wanted to put some beads around the edge. You would just have to be really careful to blend it into the original so that it doesn't fall apart when it dries. Not that it would be the end of the world if it did. You could just glue it on after. So I would just keep going all the way around till I was complete my project. I think I'm gonna do that part off camera because it's pretty self-explanatory, just sticking beads in the side. Of course, you could use buttons as well, which I think I am going to use a big button as a centerpiece. But it's pretty simple, so I'm going to do this off camera, and I will meet you back with a different kind of product. Alrighty, so for this next one, I think I'm going to start off with 2 packs. So I'm going to open them up using my handy dandy scissors. I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to knead them together. I'm sorry if I shake you guys while I'm trying to roll this out. Okay, for this next part, if you have a rolling pin, you can use it. You can also just push it flat with your fingers. I am gonna get creative and use this Febreze as a rolling pin. Okay, so we don't want to roll it out too much because we still want the base to be nice and thick. Okay. Now this next bit is up to you. This is going to be the base of our pot. See how nice and thick it is? So you can leave it like this. I want mine to be pretty close to circular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark with this tape. We're all about being not creative. Adaptable. We're using what we got here today. And I'm following the line that the tape made. Once again, this is unnecessary. I just want to get pretty close to a circle, or at least the closest I'm capable of. I kind of squished it out of the circle shape. But that's okay, it'll still work. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this leftover and how many packs you open now is, you know, going to depend on how thick and how tall you want the walls. Okay. I'm gonna try it with 2 because I want my walls nice and thick. I'm planning to do some decoration on the top this time. And the thicker it is, the more sturdy. So I'm gonna open this one up as well. So I've given you guys 4 clay, so you will be able to follow along with this one. So I'm just kneading it until it's one solid piece. A little bit easier if I use the disc to help. Hope you're not shaking too much. Okay, and once again, I'm gonna use my Febreze bottle to kind of roll it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and you want this roll to be quite long. Okay, I don't want to go any thinner than that. Okay, I need to try this again. Okay, I changed my mind a little bit. Instead of using 2, we're actually going to use 3. Okay, so we still got our nice circle base that we used 2 for. And I'm going to roll this out again. When I'm rolling, I want to focus on making it long. Okay, because we want to go all the way around there. So I'm just going to roll it out, keeping it as thick as I can. Oh, picking the dog hair off of it. Okay. We're going to keep going until it can wrap all the way around. It's a little bit taller than I originally imagined. So I'm going to take a little bit off using my scissors as a improv sculpting tool. And I'm going to add it onto the end. Okay. I'm going to wet my hand a little bit just to help smooth this into one piece. Not perfect, but it will work. Okay. Okay. So you just kind of gotta roll it out, kind of look at your pot. Where does it need more or less? Okay, that's pretty even. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to press this and wrap it all the way around my center base. Okay. And I'm kind of using my desk to help me as well. I'm kind of pushing it down to give it a little bit more strength. I did put quite a bit of overlap, but this is because my ends were kind of thinner just with the way I rolled it out. On second thought, I don't think I'm gonna have thick enough sides to do decorations on the top, but I do have a pretty thick bottom. I think I'm gonna pinch it out a little bit and put beads down there. This seam, you can try your best to smooth it out. It is a little bit difficult. You could also make that seam kind of decorative. Just looking at it now, it kind of reminds me of like a rose petal. I don't know if you guys can see it. That's what it reminds me of though. Okay. So I'm done squishing it on the outside, and I made a little lip. You don't have to make that lip. And I'm also going to smooth it on the inside. You can get your fingers a little bit wet. This will help a little bit. Not as much as if it were, you know, like a natural clay, but it will still help. Another thing you could do if say your wall, you didn't want it this high and you had a little bit of extra clay, you could put clay around the seal on the inside, like around where they meet, and you could help it join that way. It's just going to take some work to get it as even as you can or as you want. I've seen some really cool lopsided designs done, so you know, whatever is the look you're going for. Mine might be one of those lopsided styles. That's A-okay with me. Okay, still trying to smooth this out a little bit. Okay, I think that's as good as I'm gonna get her. Making sure she's not stuck to the desk and my outer lip is pretty equal. Once again, not perfect, but I'm sure you guys have heard me say this before if you followed any of my crafting videos. Sometimes the imperfections are the best part. At least in my opinion, right? This is your creativity, your project, and no one else is ever going to be able to create something exactly like it, which I think is so cool. So I don't shy away from those little imperfections at all. I think they're the best part. Okay, So, I think I'm gonna use the buttons this time. So full disclosure, the buttons are a little bit harder to get to stick. Okay, especially these big ones. I'm just gonna dump some out because I want a lot of buttons. I think that's gonna be the main part of my design. Some of these buttons have a little edge, which does make it quite a bit easier to stick in. Okay. Even with that little edge, it's not going to stick in perfect, especially right away. Okay, they do get a little more solid as it dries, but not enough that we can like pull on it or anything. But if they're falling out when you're putting them in, don't despair. You can either glue them after. Oh, this one really doesn't want to stick. Or you can grab, if you have a little bit of extra clay. I'm gonna pinch a little bit off of this. That will help it stick as well. Oh, I got some blowout happening. That's okay. Oh. It is a little bit hard to. Oh, did that fall off? Yes, yes it did. It is a little bit hard to push them in without kind of warping your project. So, you know, if you need to glue it after, no big deal at all. I'm actually starting to think I wish I took that route. The beads do stick better, but the buttons, they're a little hit and miss. Be very careful when you're moving your project because it likely is going to wobble or lose decorations. Movement is really not our friend, especially with this particular type of clay, Model Magic, because it's already starting to dry. Speaking of the dry time, so on the clay it does say to dry overnight. Based on my online research and also with the practice projects I've made, I think 72 hours is a better bet. Maybe even a little bit longer if you're planning to use it, you know, to support any weight, like if you're putting a flower in here. If you were putting a flower in there, I would suggest 1, poking some holes in the bottom, but 2, finding a glaze because Model Magic in itself isn't waterproof. Okay. I'm not gonna worry about that because I'm doing this more for decoration than for any practical use, you know. I know with the last one, I was like, oh, you don't need to see me put in decorations, it's so easy. But I do want to show you guys this one just because the buttons are a little bit more difficult. I keep losing them, but I do want to show you guys it is possible. We can do it! Just takes a little determination and patience, especially patience. And the thicker your walls are, the more you're going to be able to push them in, which is going to be super, super helpful for you. I don't like any of these buttons. I'm going to make a mess for myself to clean up after. Ooh, I like this one. It's got a little anchor. Is that the right way? Yes. Cute. This little black and white one. I didn't choose which buttons you guys got, so I hope you got some cool ones. I just kind of grabbed a bunch. There was also some pink ones too, I think I gave you guys. Okay, so I got my buttons all the way around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this, and I'm not going to touch it for at least 24 hours, but if I'm being honest, I'm probably actually going to leave it for 72. Okay, so we'll see you after this has had some time to cure.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you had as much fun as I did making these. Just really, really make sure you let it dry fully before you start handling it, okay? So 24 hours at least, but I found that 72 hours was a little more helpful. Okay, until next time, stay home, stay safe. Bye.